world of finance contains many larger-than-life characters who transcend the industry and whose records speak for themselves, and many of these men and women have an almost mythical quality surrounding them. Today, I'm travelling to Boca Raton in Florida to speak with one such man, a man who's built a stellar career that has its roots in old-fashioned values like discipline, thoroughness, and a work ethic which has become the stuff of legend on Wall Street. Now, after a high-profile battle with the SEC, he's chosen to return his investors' capital, turn his back on Wall Street after 40 years, and concentrate on his family office and philanthropic endeavours, a decision I want to explore today to try and understand whether it's a natural winding down to his career or something more. So please join me for a conversation with Lee Cooperman. Lee, thank you so much for having us in your home. It's a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure.
The beauty of talking to you is I don't need to introduce you to the audience. They're all going to be intimately aware of who you are and your track record. But what I really want to do is walk through your career with you and give people a chance to hear about your experiences and from you talk about how you adapted and survived and thrived in an industry that's changed enormously over the course of your career.
Well, I would attribute whatever success I've enjoyed, frankly, to good luck, hard work, and good intuition.
Yeah.
And so if I traced my career along the way, I could point out why I say what I say. So back in the 60s, if you finished your major and minor in college in 3 years, you could count in your first year of medical or dental school towards your fourth year of college and get a separate degree. So in the summer of 1963, I toiled very hard in the University of Pennsylvania laboratories, and I took physical chemistry during the summer to finish off my major. And then I immediately enrolled in the University of Pennsylvania Dental School. And after 8 days, which I see a smile on your face, and after 8 days, I made a determination that I wasn't sure I was heading in the right direction. So that was like intuition. Very traumatic experience. My father, may rest in peace, was walking around saying, you know, my son, a dentist. I paid tuition for a year. I paid room and board for a year. I had to suffer the embarrassment of going back to undergraduate school, but I made the determination that I wanted that 1 year to think through whether I was fully committed to dentistry or not, at great cost. And I call that intuition, so I went back to Hunter College, City University of New York. The only one that understood the trauma of the decision was the dean, Glenn T. Nygren, who's deceased. I had to get permission for him to matriculate back into the City University of New York. He gave me the permission, he complimented me on the decision, and I had a year of electives available because my major and minor was all done. And so I took 10 courses in economics, got 10 A's, and never looked back. I found what interested me, and so I say that's number one, intuition. Then, when I graduated, I went to work for Xerox up in Rochester, New York, as a quality control engineer, and decided to basically go back to school and get an MBA. And I went to Columbia Business School. And that's been very helpful to me. And some of the people you know, like Art Sandberg, Mary Gabelli, have become great friends as a result of meeting them at business school. And that opened the door to me to Goldman Sachs. And I consider myself very anal. So I'm very, when I'm supposed to be somewhere, I'm on time, if not early. And I meet all deadlines, very old-fashioned. And it was the only time in my life that I didn't meet a deadline. I got a job offer from Goldman Sachs in 1966, and I get a call from who turned out to be my boss ultimately, Bob Danforth, and said, Lee, we're very disappointed we haven't heard from you. And I said, Bob, let me be honest with you, I'm broke. I have a National Defense Education Act student loan, have a 6-month-old kid, have no money in the bank. And Goldman is not one of the higher offers I have. It's actually one of the lower offers. But I liked everybody I met. And I was very familiar with the Union Carbide compound interest tables, which were floating around at that time. And the job offer was about 11,500 or something like that. And I asked him if he thought I could make 25,000 in 5 years. That was like a 15% compound rate of growth. And he gave me, he was from Yankton, South Dakota. And he gave me a nice understated answer. He said, if you work hard and keep your nose clean, I think you could do it. So I said, okay, I'll accept the job. And so if I look back, Goldman is one of the few firms whose names didn't change for the last 50-odd years. You know, I could have gone to Goodbody, I could have gone to Kuhn Loeb, you know, Loeb Rhodes, Hornblower. There's so many different firms that are no longer around, Kuhn Loeb. And I went to a firm whose name didn't change for the last 50 years. And they experienced great prosperity, and I enjoyed that, participating in that prosperity. So that was, I don't know, luck, intuition, whatever. So, when I became a Goldman partner, is 1976. The firm had a record year in 1976. They earned all of $40 million. And the year I retired, 14 years later from Goldman to start Omega, they earned $1.8 billion. So as a partner, I shared in that prosperity. So I've been very lucky, but I've worked very hard. I work 70-hour work weeks, plus I work 7 days a week. But I enjoy what I do. I don't look at it as work. Warren Buffett says he likes to tap dance to work, go to work with people you respect and admire, and everything takes care of itself. And that's kind of the life I've led. I'm a very simple guy, and I've been very lucky, and I appreciate the luck I've had.
Well, everybody that you and I know in common, that's the one thing they always point out, that how hard you work, and how, for you, this is something that you genuinely love doing. So,
well, I enjoy the hunt. What I enjoy doing is finding something somebody else doesn't see, making a bet, and having Mr. Market prove me right.
Right.
And I enjoy that. And I'm kind of narrow in my interest. I don't collect sports teams. In fact, I don't even follow sports hardly at all. I'm not an art collector. I've been very fortunate. I've been married 54 years to the same woman. I have 2 grown kids with 3 grandkids, and my kids are terrific, and my grandkids are even better. And so I'm very focused on what I do, and I enjoy what I do. And I don't look at it as work. It's old-fashioned, but that's kind of the way I look at it. I enjoy what I do.
But that hunt that you talk about, I guess for someone that was set on a path to become a dentist, obviously you switched and finance became something that you found you loved. And that hunt, going somewhere like Columbia Business School and that value investing, the Graham Dodd School, how did that shape the way that you invest for the rest of that career?
Well, I studied under Professor Roger Murray, who was a real practitioner. He was an adjunct professor. He actually was the dean of the school for a short period of time. He taught security analysis, and he also had a day job of chief investment officer at a college retirement equities fund. And he was a real practitioner, and he just helped hone and focus my interest. And it's you find what you like, and I enjoy working with numbers. I enjoy working with people. Ben Graham in The Intelligent Investor hypothesized that the security analyst evaluates management twice in the investigation. Once through the numbers, because after all, when you look at a company, their return on equity, their market share, their profit margins, their return on capital is a function of the quality of management. And then you meet the management face to face, you interrogate them, you ask them questions, and you see how they respond to your questions. And it's something I just found, an affinity for, enjoyment.